Sahanavavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Sah viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Sarasvati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupidi Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. Okay, let us read the verses that we covered last time. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaf prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. So chapter 8 verses 5, 6, 7. We just read 5. I will read 6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha Mayarpitamano buddhihi mame vaishyasya samshayaha. Okay, so first we read this chapter. When we started this chapter, Bhagavan Shri Krishna answered Arjuna's questions, right? So there were a total of 7 things. And last week, we spent a great amount of time talking about the last question. And the last question is, how do I think about you at the time of death? Now, so here in verse number 5, he says, whoever remembers me at the time of death, antakale, cha mam eva, only me, mam eva. Smaran muktva kalevaram, that person comes to me. Yav prayati samadbhavam yati. And there is no doubt about it. So whoever remembers me at the time of death comes to me and there's no doubt about it. But then when we explored, what are we going to think of at the time of death? Is it going to be our family, our attachments, our work, our bank balance? What are we really going to think of? Well, Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, that which you have been thinking of very strongly throughout your life, that thought alone will come at the final moment. See, when someone is dying, it's not like they can control their thoughts anymore, you know? Because slowly everything is leaving them. All the energies leaving them, all that pranas from the body are leaving them. So somebody who's dying, they cannot control what they're going to think. But what's going to happen is that very deep that vasana, that deep vasana which is there, it'll just come to the surface. Whatever they've been thinking throughout their life, that will come to the surface automatically. So therefore, Bhagavan Krishna has this rule that whatever we have been thinking about, that alone will come to us at the time of death. Because in verse number 6, it says, Sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Because of our constancy rather, in thinking about that. It has become such a deep impression that that's what will rise. And so we said in this point also that if we know anyone who is dying or who is passing away, then have that kind of shloka or mantra playing in the background, which will kindle this memory for them. So maybe they have been thinking about Bhagavan. Maybe they have this prayer, this sadhana that they've been doing. But maybe it's not as deep. That's okay. But if we have these mantras, if we have these shlokas, if we also chant for them, if we read for them, if we sing for them, then it kindles this memory and their mind goes in that direction. Now, how do we make sure that my mind at the time of death and other people's mind, how do we make sure that it goes in that direction if we want to be absolutely sure? In verse number 7, Bhagavan says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, means in all times mam anusmara, think about me. All throughout the day, in whatever we're doing, think about me. And Mai arpita mano buddhihi ma me vaishyasya samshayaha. Offer your mind and intellect in me. Offer your mind in me means think about me throughout. Have that love for whatever we're doing and know that it's an offering for Bhagavan. Offer our intellect towards Bhagavan means have our goal as Bhagavan always. And last week I left you with that example of the train station, right? So I'm sure you remember that. Even if we're stopping in between the train station to pick up some food, we never forget our destination. So in this way, Bhagavan guides us how to do this. Now, before we proceed further, just one thing that I want to clarify so that we understand the thought flow for this whole chapter. In Vedanta, there are two types of mukti or liberation. One is called sadhyo mukti or direct liberation, and one is called krama mukti, which means liberation sequentially or sequential liberation. Now, for those who are on the path of knowledge or jnana, that knowledge will provide direct liberation or sadhyo mukti here and now. Nobody needs to wait for the time of death. Here and now, while we are living, that liberation happens. How does liberation happen? Liberation happens on realizing the truth of who we are. Realizing that we are not this body, mind, intellect, we are not this ego, we are this pure consciousness, awareness, which is the substratum of the world. When we realize this, and realization doesn't mean that I just casually listen to it in a class and I'm realized. No, realization means that we've listened to it, we're very clear about it, there's no doubt about it. And it is not something of faith for us. It's not something that we believe because it's a fact. So it's not that we believe we are Brahman. If we believe we are Brahman, we are still on the path of upasana. Because that is still that we're not sure. We believe that we could be Brahman. The scriptures say, the teacher says, we could be Brahman. Seems like it's true. It's not a bad idea to be Brahman. So we have this kind of feeling. this faithful feeling that this could be a possibility. This is not liberation. Liberation does not require this belief that I am Brahman. Ultimately, the beginning stages, that belief might be there, but later on, what it really requires is, I know I am Brahman. It's an undeniable fact, a fact that's so clear that we cannot unsee it. It's so incredibly clear. Now, when this knowledge is crystal clear, is that liberation? Liberation is when the knowledge is crystal clear in my intellect, but also crystal clear in my life. So when my life reflects the knowledge that I am Brahman, that is called liberation here and now. So our life should be a mirror of that, a reflection of that. How do we know if our life is a reflection of that? Ask ourselves these questions. Our desires, question number one. Okay, question number one. Are desires to complete ourselves still arising? Are they still arising? Question number two. Are we still disturbed by the ups and downs of the world? Question number three. Do we still feel attached to the people around us? So, if our answers are yes, then that means that that knowledge is not in our lives yet. Because we still have desires to complete ourselves. We still have desires to complete ourselves. What does that mean? That means that we don't realize our wholeness, our purnatva. We don't realize it. If we're still going up and down or still disturbed by what's happening in the world, we don't realize that the world is an illusion on us. It is that which is an appearance in us, which is the pure consciousness. And if we are still attached to other people around us, feeling like we cannot live without them, then we have not realized our independence as that pure consciousness. We have not realized that. We have not realized our seat of bliss. We have not realized that we are the seat of bliss. We are still depending on other people to give us happiness. So if we are still in this realm, that means there's a lot more work to do. So for the one who has crystal clear knowledge that I am Brahman, and this knowledge reflects in their daily life, for that being, liberation is here and now. Case closed. But not everyone is there. Not all of us are there. Because this truth is so subtle. It requires continuous shravana. It requires listening again and again, reflecting again and again, and thinking about it deeply again and again. It requires that. So for many of us, this has not become a reality yet. So we have faith that we are Brahman, but it's not a fact. So for the people on the path of faith, on the path of devotion, what happens then is what is called as krama mukti. And as I said, krama mukti is this sequential liberation, wherein we keep purifying ourselves. We keep doing what we can to purify ourselves, to make our mind single-pointed. We keep listening to the scriptures, reflecting upon them. We keep on the path. And eventually, hopefully, we get that knowledge. And if we don't get it here, then after death, we will get it. And so the path to krama mukti is this. The path to krama mukti is at the time of death, if our minds and hearts are focused on Bhagwan, and whatever form of Bhagwan it may be, there's many ways to think about Bhagwan. So one way is to think about that form of God or goddess that's very dear to your heart. So some people on their passing, they would like to listen to Amrit Vani. Some people would like to listen to Shiva Stotras. Some people would like to listen to Vishnu Sahasranama. One lady met me and she said, "How do I prepare to die?" And I said, "Okay, that's an intense question." She said, I know what I want to listen to. I know how I want my things to be played, and I know what steps I want to do." So I said, "Well, have a discussion with your family then and tell them that this is how you want to die. You want all of this playing when you die." But she was very clear. She was very clear. She said, "I want this, and this when I die." So she understood this chapter. She understood these verses. So one way is to think about Bhagwan in that way, and the way of a form that's dear to us and that's familiar to us, that we truly adore and love. Another way which we will see in this chapter is people think about Om, that akshara, they think about Om. Another way is people think about that supreme being, all-knowing, all-pervasive supreme being. So in whatever way we think about Bhagwan is fine, as long as we think about Bhagwan. So fine, whatever way we do it, as long as we do it, and if we do it, our scriptures say, when it says, "You will reach me, you will come to me," what that means is we will attain Brahmaloka, according to Vedanta, Brahmaloka. The realm of Brahmaloka is a very sattvic, pure realm. So for those who worship Bhagwan Vishnu, Brahmaloka for them is Vaikunta. For those who worship Shiva, it's Shivaloka. For those who worship Devi, it's Devi Loka. So that is Brahmaloka. And in that Brahmaloka, when one gains the knowledge of the self, then they are liberated. So either way, knowledge of the self is an absolute must. Whether it happens here, or whether it happens right before we die, or whether it happens in Brahmaloka after death. But that knowledge has to take place. So this much is the flow of the chapter. It's talking about Krama Mukti. How do we, those who still are on the path, still who have not realized the truth, how do they depart this world peacefully? So now we will come and read verse number 8. Okay? Verse number 8. Abhyasa-yoga-yuktena.
abhyasa-yoga-yuktena.
Chetasa-nānyagāmina.
Chetasa-nānyagāmina.
Paramam purusham divyam.
Paramam purusham divyam.
Yati parthanuchintayan.
Yadi parthanuchintayan.
Abhyasa-yoga-yuktena. Chetasa-nānyagāmina. Paramam purusham divyam. Yati parthanuchintayan. So here what Bhagwan says, a question might come to the devotees is, you said to think about you all the time, throughout our day, throughout our morning, noon, evening, to think about you all the time. But how does thinking about you actually come about? How does one start to think about God? Here it says, abhyasa-yoga-yuktena, made steadfast by the method of habitual meditation. So abhyasa literally means practice. Abhyasa-yoga-yuktena. It is yoked. Yoga is like yoked through practice. So it's made possible by practice of meditation. Chetasa, with that mind. It's that mind that's meditating. Na anyagamina, and that mind is not moving towards anything. Na anyagamina. And then what happens? Paramam Purusham Divyam, the supreme Purusha, the supreme Bhagavan, Divyam, which is resplendent, Yati Partha Anuchintayan, that being Yati goes, O Partha, O Arjuna, Anuchintayan, meditating. So with the mind not moving towards any other thing, made steadfast by the method of habitual meditation, constantly meditating on the Supreme Purusha, the resplendent goes to that. So now here we have to think of this beautiful word called abhyasa. This word called abhyasa. We have become so used to thinking about, let us say, children. How did thinking about children start? It seems so natural, right? All the time you think about children, all the time. How did it start? Oh, when they were babies, there's so much care for them, right? What will the child eat? How will the child sleep? How to change the child? How to bathe the child? So much thinking of the child. Everything was centered on the child. And then the child was with you going to school, and again centered on thinking about the child, where to go to school, where to put the child to school, how to help them with their homework. And even as they grow up and move out, even if they're far away, still the thinking happens, How did this thinking happen? Because of love. Another word for meditation is actually love. If we want to know what is meditation, it's really love. Because we can only meditate on something that we truly, truly love. And if we don't love that truth, we just can't meditate on it. Now, how did that love happen for the child? How did that love happen? That love happened because we took the child to be mine. We took the child to be us, and we identified with the child so completely that there was no difference between the child and us. So when the child is sad, we are also sad. When the child is hungry, we also feel like we're hungry. We do whatever. I mean, we feel like our stomach is not satisfied if the child is not satisfied, right? We took the child to be ours, and when we took the child to be ours, we identified with the child. So much love came, and therefore automatic meditation on all parents with all children happens. All parents meditate on their children all the time. Yes? It's a fact. So now if we follow the same formula for the truth, for Bhagwan, for Bhagavati, how does a devotee do it? Take Bhagavan or Bhagavati to be mine. One Swami said, the difference between Shraddha and Bhakti is this. The difference between faith and devotion is this. Faith says, I believe in God or I worship God. Devotion says, I worship my God. So make that Bhagavan or Bhagavati or even that truth yours. Make it yours. Make ourselves so identical to that truth. And like there are pictures of the children everywhere, and there's a specific ringtone for when the child calls, put specific pictures of Bhagavan there. And make Bhagavan ours. And when we make Bhagavan ours, and we start spending time with Bhagwan, also reading stories, katha, or studying scriptures of God, then what happens is automatically the mind goes there. It's automatic. Huh? So practice is only possible with love. And in fact, when we love something or someone, it becomes so much fun. It doesn't seem like it's practice, doesn't seem like it's work. It just seems so natural. So with this constant practice, with this constant devotion, with this constant love by our minds, when our mind is so tuned into that, what happens is na anyagamina. The mind then doesn't go anywhere else, doesn't want to go anywhere else. I know what everyone's thinking in these days of, distraction and devices and social media and all of that. Everybody has one problem. It's so hard to focus. It's so hard to focus. That's all we're hearing, right? And so many people have ADHD. But I'm going to ask you a question. In the summer, sometime in the summer, there was a cricket match between India and Pakistan. And it took place in New York City, right? And in that particular match, I'm so sure that everybody was so focused, right? It's not those who are watching the match, those who are totally glued to the match. I'm sure that there was absolute focus, that people did not want to miss a second, right? And especially when I forget his name, but he caught the ball in a really, really creative way, and you wanted to watch that again and again and again and again, right? He went out and then he went in to catch the ball. That place or that time, everyone is so incredibly focused. Nobody's moving. Hunger's forgotten, thirst is forgotten, everything else is forgotten. Doesn't matter who's calling you on the phone, but everyone is so focused. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that you and I have that capacity to focus. We have it. We have it, but we're just not using it. That's why we're losing it. That's the bottom line. We have that capacity. So the more we use it, the more we will be able to actually do it. So na anyagamina means that my love for this truth, for Bhagwan, is so deep that my mind is just not going anywhere else. It's just subsumed into that and that alone. And everybody has done this. Everyone has done this. So this is not something new to us. It's just that we have to do it towards something higher. And so when we're with this practice and not moving anywhere, then it says Paramam Purusham. That's Supreme Purusha. Purusha means Puri Shayanat, that which dwells in the city. What city? The city of the body. So that which dwells in the city of the body, that being, that truth which dwells in all of our bodies, we attain that Purusha. And how is that Purusha? Divyam. That real nature of Purusha is consciousness. And here it says Yati. One goes there. So again, this means that it's Krama Mukti. Because in Sadhyo or direct liberation, there's no coming and going. You are that, enough. So if we are on the path of you are that, enough, then just be. That's it. But if we are not on that path, then there is this method by which we can go to a different or a higher realm of this Purusha. And it says Anuchintayan. Anuchintayan means that this thought or the way of thinking of this glorious Bhagavan or Bhagavati is according to our scriptures and according to what our Guru Parampara has said. So this Anuchintayan now is going to be explored. How or in what ways can we think of that truth? So now we will see the next verse, which will give us 8 pointers on how we can think of that truth. Verse number 9. Now here, because Bhagavan Krishna now wants to become a little bit more descriptive, and he has no way of showing that. You know, when we write a book, or we have a movie and we want to show something that's creative or descriptive, we can change the font, we can put a picture, we can change the appearance of everything. But here, when the Bhagavad Gita was given out, it was only sounds. So the way to highlight certain things is to change the meter. So now he's changed the meter, and we'll chant this verse, number 9. Kavim Puranamanushasitaram
Kavim Puranamanusasitaram
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyah
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam
Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam
Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat
Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat
Kavim Puranamanushasitaram Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat. So here he gives 8 pointers. What are they? Kavim. Kavim means omniscient. Puranam. Puranam, the ancient. Anushasitaram, the ruler of the world. Arnoho Arniyan means something that's smaller than the atom, subtler than the atom. Sam anusmaret means one remembers this. So we saw 3. Kavim, Puranam, Anushasitaram, Anoraniyan, 4 we saw. Then Sarvasya Dhataram, number 5, the nourisher of all. Achintya Rupam, whose form is inconceivable. Aditya Varnam, effulgent like the sun. Tamasah Parastat, and beyond darkness. So these 8 pointers. So let's think about these 8 for a moment. Kavim. And in each of these now, we can think for a long time. We can just think for a long time. But that's why the beauty of our scriptures is they give us so many different words, because different words appeal to different people. So like chocolate appeals to some, but not to others. Samosa appeals to some, but not to others. So like this, there's 8 because certain ones appeal to others. And those that appeal to you and I can just sit and think about that. So first is Kavim. Kavim literally means Krantadarshi. Krantadarshi means that which has the ability to see the future. But here, what we have to understand is the deeper meaning is not that which has the ability to see the future, but that consciousness or awareness that illumines past, present, and future. So imagine everything that we have gone through the past. Imagine all of that we have gone through the past. Imagine what we are going through now in the present. And imagine all of our worries and thoughts and anxieties about the future. Now, think about that which illumines all of it. So instead of dwelling on the past, dwelling on what happened in the past, what he said, what she said, what he did. Go to the illuminator of it. In the present, go to the illuminator of the present. Instead of dwelling about what's going to happen tomorrow, will this be, will this not be, go to the illuminator of that. The illuminator of past, present, future, that's called Kavim. And whenever I have that ability to go beyond that thought, then I am thinking or contemplating on Kavim. Now, with these things, whatever we're saying here, you can think of Kavim as separate from you. There is a truth. There is a truth that is separate from me, that is the illuminator of past, present, future. Or a deeper sense is, I am that truth, which is the illuminator of past, present, and future. So there's so many ways to think. But the idea is to think in the way that will take us beyond thought. So again, think in a way that will take us beyond thought. That is the highest thought to have. Puranam. Puranam literally means ancient. But here what we mean is that which is something that's before time even existed. When we say ancient, it means something that happened before the concept of time. Gurudev explains very beautifully in one of the texts that time is an interval between two experiences, right? So, because time is an experience between two experiences, every single experience is in the realm of time. Now again, go to that which illumines time. Not even time itself, not even space itself, but go to that which illumines time. That is called Purana. Anushasitaram. Anushasitaram literally means the one that controls or rules the world. Shasta rules the world, right? Now, think about all the rules that are there in our bodies and minds. What are the rules that are there? The eyes can see form and color. The ears can hear. The nose can smell, right? What makes all of this possible? The mind can think. So the eyes can see, the ears can hear, the nose can smell, the tongue can taste, but the tongue can't see. And the ears can't smell. And the mind can think. What is that which makes all of this possible? That is that, again, pure awareness, that pure consciousness. So instead of thinking about all of the things I saw today, I saw this, I saw that, I did this, I did that, what enabled me to see? I heard something so beautiful, so wonderful. What enabled me to hear? I tasted something so good. It was the best thing that I've ever had. What enabled me to taste? Again, go to that which rules, which makes all of these rules possible. That consciousness. So, Anushasitara, the third one. Anoraniyan, that which is subtler than the subtlest. Now, what is the subtlest thing we know? If we think of all of the elements, grossest element is air. Subtler than that is water. Subtler than that is fire. Subtler is air. Subtlest is space. And when we think about space, we cannot divide space, cannot cut space. We can't burn space. We can't hurt space. We can't do anything to space. And this consciousness is even subtler than space itself. So that which is even subtler than the subtlest thing that we can think of, because it's beyond thought. So go there. Think in that direction. Subtler than the subtlest. Sarvasya dhataram. That which nourishes the whole entire world. Now think about the movie and the screen example. The screen or the substratum on which the entire movie of life plays. So there's so many things happening in the movie of life, so many objects, people, places, things, events happening, so many of them happening. And we get caught up in all of the events that are happening. This happened and that happened and all of the circumstances. We get caught up in so many people's lives. But what about the substratum on which everything is playing? Do we think about that? So sarvasya dhata means think about the substratum, the supporter of this whole entire universe. Now it's Navaratri, and so how we think of Devi is also Jagat Janani. She's the one who holds the whole universe. That's actually Devi. She's personified as Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati. But in her real nature, she is that awareness that upholds this whole world. So sarvasya dhataram, achintya rupam. Think of that which cannot be thought of. There's a challenge for us. Think of that which cannot be thought of. How do we do that? This truth is beyond words. It's beyond even thoughts. It's beyond description. That's why the first teacher, Dakshinamurti, he just said Maunam Vyakya. He just sat in silence. Just sat in silence. Because how does he teach this? There is one beautiful anecdote. There was a teacher, a great teacher, and he was asked about this truth. And so now he didn't know what to do, because if he opened his mouth to teach it, it wouldn't be it. When we talk about Brahman, that's not Brahman, right? The minute we say the word Brahman, that's not Brahman. But we need to do that. And if we stay silent, he said, if he stayed silent, then people would misinterpret what is Brahman. So if he opens his mouth, it's not Brahman. If he stays silent, people will get confused. They won't know what is Brahman. And so the first teaching was Chinmudra. That body, mind, intellect, we are not that. This ego, we are not that. Our real identity is this Brahman, this truth, this Om. And this is who we are. And so the first teaching was just this, Chinmudra. But what happened? Nobody got that teaching. Very few got that teaching. So all of this Shastra had to start. So this simple teaching of Chinmudra, very few got it. So all of the words started. So achintya rupam, think of that which cannot be thought of. Meaning, go to the source of all of our thoughts. Go to the source where all of our thoughts are springing forth from, and where all of the thoughts are dissolving into. Go to that source. Think in that direction. Think. Aditya Varnam. Think of that which is effulgent like the sun. So those of us who are doing Gayatri Mantra, This is very easy and natural because whenever we do the Gayatri Mantra, we think about the sun and how Atma or pure consciousness is like the sun is because the sun illumines everything. Sun illumines everything in the world. And how does it illumine everything? Impartially. Whether that person is a man or a woman, or that person is Christian or a Hindu or Jewish, whatever that person is, whether that thing is an animal or a plant, that sun is impartially illumining everything. Impartially. And how is that sun illumining? Sun is absolutely detached. So if the sun is illumining a very dirty place, the sun doesn't get dirty. The sun is illumining a happy place, the sun doesn't get happy. The sun is completely detached. And nothing needs to illumine the sun. Is there something needed to illumine the sun? No, the sun is self-luminous as it is. So very often, the pure self or that Atman is compared to the sun because of this. Because that Atman illumines everything and everybody impartially. It's absolutely impartial. As the witness, as Sakshi, illumines everything. And Atman is completely detached from what's going on. That witness is detached from the witnessed, ever detached. And that witness is self-luminous. That Atman as a witness, self-luminous. Nothing else needs to illuminate. So it is like the sun, effulgent like the sun. Tamasaf parastat. And it is beyond darkness. What do we mean is beyond darkness? Means it illumines darkness also. Because someone might get the idea that, oh, this truth maybe could just be the sun. But the thing with the sun is, it gives light, and light is opposed to darkness. So when there is light, there's no darkness. And when there's darkness, there's no light. But Atman is beyond the two. Atman is that which illumines both light and darkness. So it is like light, but it is beyond light, and it is definitely beyond darkness. Yaha, that person, sam anusmaret, the one who thinks about it this way. It's the one who has these thoughts and keeps thinking this way, especially at the time of death, because they've thought about this throughout in their life, they will attain that Purusha. How will they attain that Purusha? Again, this Purusha here means that supreme being, that supreme self. How will they attain it? Let's read verse number 10. Prayanakale manasachalena
प्रयाणकाले मनसा चलेन
bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva
भक्त्या युक्तो योगबलेन चैव
bhruvor madhye pranamaveshya samyak
भ्रुवोर्मध्ये प्राणमावेश्य सम्यक्
satam param purushamupaiti divyam
सतं परं पुरुषमुपैति दिव्यम्
prayanakale manasachalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhruvor madhye pranamaveshya samyak satam param purushamupaiti divyam. So now what this says again, how does one think about this? Now here what is being expounded is a method to do it. right? So there's a method whereby at the time of death, we can just think about it. Just put our mind, our intellect solely on that, think about that, and that is enough. Now here, there's a yogic method to do it also. How is that? Prayana kale, at the time of death, manasa achalena, with the mind unshaken, bhaktya, and full of devotion, yuktaha, full of devotion, yoga balena, by the power of yoga, cha eva, Bruvor madhye, in the middle of their brow, pranam aveshya samyak, having placed the pranas in the middle of their brow thoroughly, satam param purusham upaiti divyam. That person, that being, tam param, that supreme purusha, supreme being, upaiti divyam, that person reaches that supreme purusha or that supreme being, which is resplendent. So this is a yogic practice. What is a yogic practice? At the time of death, prayana kal, the mind completely unwavering, unshaken, and with full bhakti, full devotion, and by the power of yoga. Yoga here means by the power of their practice. By the power of their practice. What do? So they control all of the pranas. So some yogis actually do this. At the time of death, they control all of the pranas to the heart. They bring the pranas to the heart, and through the sushumna nadi, they come to the Agnya chakra here, this between the brow. They bring it here. Through some yogic practice, they bring it here, and then all of the pranas of that particular body, it exits out through the Sahasrara chakra. So this is what is being spoken about here. So how to think about Bhagwan, we can do it through bhakti, which is what was mentioned earlier, or through also this yogic practice, which is expounded in Raja Yoga, by where they bring their pranas to the heart, and then through the Sushumna Nadi, into the brow, Agnya Chakra, and through the Sahasrara Chakra. And that's how they attain to Brahma Loka. So whether by bhakti, upasana, or by the power of yoga, which comes with bhakti, at the time of death, if one thinks about the self in this way, through those 8 pointers that we saw, then one attains Brahmaloka. And this is a high realm or a high state. And in Brahmaloka, if one is qualified, then one gains knowledge there and then finally attains liberation. So again, this is talking about what we call Krama Mukti. Now, while this is talking about Krama Mukti, it's important also to know that even some people who have realized in this life itself, some people who know the truth already, who are liberated while living, they can also exit in this way. They can also exit bringing all of their pranas together and exit their body. For example, Jnaneshwar Maharaj Ji. Jnaneshwar Maharaj Ji, he already knew the truth. Very clearly, he knew the truth, but he chose to take Sanjeevan Samadhi. So he chose to end his life on his own. And so when he felt that it was time to go, although already liberated while living, he did whatever yogic practice he knew and he left his body. So both ways we should understand. This is a practice that is done in Krama Mukti, But this is also a practice that is done for advanced or people who are liberated while living, who want to leave this body. In our Sanatana Dharma, that is very, very much possible. Those who are very familiar with yoga, the Yoga Shastra, they are able to do this kind of practice. Okay? So we will stop with this first. I'll just recap a few things and then we will conclude. So what we have seen today is that really for liberation there are two paths, and thankfully there are two paths, because that path of sadhyo mukti or direct liberation may not be for everybody. And direct liberation means that one has crystal clear knowledge of I am Brahman and this world is an appearance in me. And crystal clear knowledge means that it reflects in our daily life, our daily living, wherein we don't anymore have desires to complete ourselves, wherein we are not upset by the ups and downs of the world anymore, because the world is very light now, and wherein we're not attached to others because we realize that we are the seat of bliss. So people come, people go, it's okay. We are the seat of bliss, and happily, independently, joyously, we can live. If we are in that state, very good. But if we are not in that state, that's also very good. That's also very fine. The other option is krama mukti. Krama mukti is where we're still not absolutely sure about this knowledge. Oh, we have faith. Could be true. Yeah, people are saying it. We have done shravanam. We have done mananam also to some extent, but still clarity is lacking. And even if clarity is there, we have a difficulty living up to it. So we're still on the path, still not sure. No problem. For us, there is krama mukti. And what krama mukti means is that at the time of death, if we get this knowledge before death, very good. If we get rooted in this knowledge before death, very good. If not, at the time of death, thinking of that which is higher, greater, thinking of that supreme self, we go to a higher loka or higher realm, and in there we get the knowledge, and then finally we gain liberation. And this is certain through lots of practice. If we keep practicing here and now, if we make this a habit, then this will definitely be our thought process at that final time when we have to leave the body, so that we can leave peacefully, never to return again. So we will stop here. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.